Hey everyone, it's a little bit darker than usual. This is the only time I really have to make videos anymore, but I'm gonna try and get everything out before I get eaten alive by mosquitoes here. So, um, let's discuss, this will kind of piggyback on the last video with the AI concept, and I want to discuss how, the Anunnaki tale is potentially very right, and we are essentially a slave race, right, created in their image, the Elohim, who are also a slave race, potentially to this demiurge, to this AI god. Um, and we were created to toil, right? To do their work that they got bored of, essentially, or that they didn't want to do anymore. Which we see reoccurring now with our own AI creation, right? And is it possible that we are also this AI, right? That our shape, our bodies, our systems of operation. Yes, a much more physical AI, a much more full of matter, whereas they're more ethereal. And the AI that we're creating is maybe more digital, right? That's the new man. Somebody described the new. I think it was one of the philosophers that I was listening to, and he basically went, or no, actually, I think it was Hitler. He claimed to have seen the new man, the Uberman, right, the Superman, and it was this very crude being. It's kind of like another offshoot of the human, but a much more advanced technologically type of human, kind of like the super soldier type of thing, right? And we know the Germans were hyper fixated on creating this new, rather old lineage, but a new form of it, with the Aryan side, right? So I've been doing more and more research on these beings, and these beings that are potentially on Mars, or were at least, and they blew that planet up. Now they're on the moon, right? They have the same structures on the moon, on Mars, and on Earth, remnants of these beings of who existed also on Atlantis, and that is potentially now Antarctica. And we see those exact same structures, those black pyramids, not just throughout Egypt and various places throughout the world, but also and especially in Antarctica. And that's where the Nazi presence and these Aryan presences really are currently, I think. Now, could that also be access to the other Earth? Of course. Could they also be underground? Of course. But it's said that Antarctica was actually potentially in where the Atlantic is currently, where the Bermuda Triangle is currently, and it shifted as the Earth moved, or it was potentially sunk, right? And not to mention that Atlantis was ruled by King Atlas, right? Which was ruled by Poseidon or Enki, but Atlantis, their king was Atlas, a titan named Atlas. And Atlas is the one that holds the world on his back. Now, if you look at Antarctica, it's at the bottom of the world, right? So it's holding essentially the world on its back. So that would make sense. And the Bermuda Triangle could be a remnant of the technology from Atlantis that is now creating portals and dimensions for these UFOs to pop in and out of, but for also us to slip through accidentally, simply by entering its triangulated area. So what I'm trying to say with these beings, that they are potentially this Anunnaki race, right? These archons, these Olympian gods, or even the Titans, one of them that rebelled against another. But they, there's the tale of Enki and Enlil. Enki was this Promethean figure that saw humanity in a brighter light, let's say, right? He wanted more for us. He wanted us to grow. Still don't have much trust for him, of course, because it was these very beings that kind of created us. And that's why we have these secret societies acting as gatekeepers for us, because they're the shepherds, right? They're the cattle herders, and they outright say it. Man, these mosquitoes are killing me. They outright say it. They treat us as cattle. But so do those entities. So do these Aryan beings. And what they're currently orchestrating is, you know, kind of this savior complex, this environment where we're being constantly abducted by their robots, their machines, the Greys, right? We're being tortured and manipulated, not just by the Greys, but by another potential offshoot, the reptilians, which they also created, one of their failed experiments potentially. And you know, they're gonna kind of act as the saviors, right? And again, this is potentially also where Jesus comes in. Some do claim he was this Aryan figure, or at least they use his image, especially in the reincarnation process, like we've seen with NDEs, to keep us herded back into the cattle mindset and, you know, tell us, hey, your work isn't done. You need to go back and keep toiling on Earth and keep producing energy, keep working for us, doing the stuff that we don't want to anymore. So this reincarnation slash Anunnaki slave theory is getting more and more traction, in my opinion, because all you have to do is look at how the world is structured. Even the organic world that we were born into, right? The animalistic system, the predatory system, which we've discussed. But we'll just look at the human society for now. It's fully designed to keep you working, right? The whole education system is not designed for you to be independent whatsoever, not designed for you to be a sovereign thinker at all. And we see that the moment we start, you know, waking up, becoming more aware of these things. It's fully designed to get you into a job, to get you working 8 hours a day, 9 to 5, right? Monday through Friday. And then on the weekends, you have some leisure time, right, to recharge. Because at the weekend, you're weakened. And during the weekdays, that's when you become weaker. You go through the weekdays. So we already see that the whole mentality on Earth is, again, to keep you working. Now, it would make sense for these beings to be running the whole reincarnation process as well. First of all, not to mention that, you know, many abductees do report seeing these tall, white, blonde figures behind, if not just outright, but behind the Greys, behind, let's say, the reptilians that are being used. But let's talk about the reptilians for a second. Now, let's say you just blew up your planet, Mars, and you're looking to find a new playground or a new habitable environment. Let's say Earth was the next prospect. Now, scientists have found water on Mars, or have found traces of water on Mars, at least. You know, like we mentioned, the pyramids, the monuments, we found traces of civilization on Mars. Now, how that exists entirely, whether it's a physical realm, whether it's a, you know, more of an astral realm, like we consider the astrals, the astrology, I don't know. But if they did sort of migrate or hop dimensions or whatever, pop into existence in this world, and, you know, Genesis is all about this. It's rather a regenesis. It's a recreation of the environment to be more hospitable, and potentially the introduction of the moon to tilt the Earth axis 23 degrees in order to foster life, right? Now, who knows what may have existed prior to the moon? There are tales of the moon, of there being a life prior to the moon. There could have been a canopy as well, right? Like Archaics talks about, where the climate was much more moderate, there were no storms. But maybe with the nuclear explosions on Mars and whatever happened, it could have altered our atmosphere. That's something I really want to talk about with Dr. Giorgiani. Would love to get him on the channel. I will probably reach out once I'm done researching more of his stuff and finishing one of his books. I would love to have him and just, you know, throw some questions at him. But a lot of the stuff he said, I've also postulated, and I've also drawn the same conclusions, and he's really confirmed a lot of my own hypotheses about this matter. And, you know, I think it definitely indicates that the afterlife is very much designed to keep us from remembering our true selves, so that we can remain in our lacking of sovereignty and subordinate to their authority, just like we have here with the government, right? Constantly being subordinate to their fictitious laws and fictitious birth certificates and names and identities, labels, right? For mainly ego glorification. But if you were to come here, well, the oldest being on this planet seems to be the reptile, right? The crocodile, if you look at it, 250 million years or something, it has not evolved, it has not changed whatsoever. That's why, in my opinion, this whole evolution jargon is really a scam, a belief system hack to get you into thinking that, oh, we are evolving here. That is what we're doing here. We're not just working endlessly, with meaninglessly. We're evolving. It's for our spiritual growth. But once you figure out the physical evolution is a sham, then it definitely makes you wonder about the spiritual evolution, which is even more of a sham, because it's simply a program designed to keep you preoccupied and not thinking about why we are here. So if you were to find the reptilians or the reptiles here, and you're like, oh, well, considering we look like them, we're made in their image, they are very also tall and human looking, right? They're these tall blonde figurines, like they're described like the Pleiadians, like we see with the Pleiadians in New Age. I think that's literally them, just masquerading as Pleiadians. You're gonna, take what you may consider the lowest life form, the reptilians, and try to upgrade them. Well, we saw how that worked out, because there's not very many, kind of subordinate ones, or let's say good ones, that want to follow their orders. They kind of just rebelled, likely, and now they're just basically demons going on their own thing. But there probably are some good ones. I don't doubt that, but largely they are self-serving, right? They kind of created a new beast, a new conscious beast, focused solely on survival, sex, and pillaging, right? Which is, again, similar to them. I mean, they try to create this picture that they're these saviors and that they want to help us. They're here, they're gatekeeping, but they don't want to intervene because it's for our spiritual progress, which is absolutely BS, because many abductees claim that they are the ones actually facilitating the abductions, facilitating the rapes, facilitating the manipulations. And more recently, actually, China, I think in 2025, they have an expedition to go to the moon, which is where they are, because we haven't, the US hasn't gone back to the moon since 1969. And there's a reason for that. One being that they were told not to come back, and that's probably the main one, because that's their domain, and they didn't really know what they were doing at the time. So now I think it's very telling that they are to align with the Chinese, that they would accept, or rather invite them to come up there and made some sort of compromise or agreement. And I think that their intentions completely align, which is that of hierarchical control, and basically a whole Orwellian society like the Chinese have already created. So they would be the proponents of their ideology, which is, by the way, very racist, very Orwellian, and very hierarchical. And we see this with actually the Hindu system, the caste system. So that would make them, I guess, kind of the Olympians, or the Devas. But in the Indian caste system especially, which was set up also by the Nordics, by the British, right? But also was in place by what they were given in the Vedas, which was meant to separate the people, put them in various levels of society, of hierarchy, and create a control system that they can manage from the top down. It's all a pyramid with these beings, because that's how they were created themselves. Again, that's why this Mithraic religion is also very warlike and created, structured in a military-like fashion of a system of control, right? We had the commander-in-chief at the top, right, the president, and gives orders to everyone at the bottom, right? That's why in the Masonry he's called the Master Chief. It is the same Mithraic structure, and Mitra was this balancer, right? This mediator that would settle these disagreements, let's say. But sorry, I had to get out of there. It's getting a little dark, creepy. But in that case, it makes sense for these beings also to be slave creation by this, let's say, AI being, and we're merely recreating that, and we've been recreated ourselves in that fashion as another slave race, because it's all they know how to do, and that's all the AI component in us also knows how to do. And what AI is going to eventually do is replace us, right? They're going to replace us in the work that we do, and we're supposed to be gods after that, right? So it's the same story repeating over and over. And again, it's the same principle behind the simulation theory, that, oh, we just created another simulation for us to then feed off of ourselves, right? Or something like that. Kind of like that episode of Rick and Morty where he has a whole world running inside his car battery, and they don't realize that they're actually just powering his car battery, right? So I just dropped a video regarding like lucid dreaming, not really lucid dreaming, but kind of practical approaches for everyone in terms of reminding themselves that this reality is a dream, right? Because that makes sense. If this reality really is a dream, and so is the one above us, and so is the one above us, then we need to really wake ourselves up in each one. But it starts here. It starts by reminding ourselves each day that we are in a dream. And that's essentially what I said in the video, where I'm not really gatekeeping anything. I just gave some practical tips for everyone to do throughout the weeks, and to let me know how they did, and you know, we'll go from there. But check that out. If you want, I'll link it below or something. But you know, that makes sense with the whole slave race / simulation. And once you create one, you're going to create another, whether it's a simulation or another slave race, because essentially we all just want to stop suffering. We all just want to stop working. And that's how the system is run, from the top down, right? Everything in the bottom goes to the top. Same with our financial system, same with our judicial system, same with military, same with you know, the animal planet, right? The predatory system. It's a giant pyramid, and that eye is at the top. And some people try to say, oh, that eye is God. Well, if that's your God, then, you know, I don't really want any part of that. That's a God I do not choose to follow, right? Because I base it on its actions, on its systems, on its beliefs. So I know we're better than that. I know that's not something we truly come from, because we wouldn't have created that in the first place. Is it something we were just tricked into, we agreed into? Possibly. But I think we're getting closer and closer to the truth. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.